Can the Heat make it to the conference final for a third straight season? Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to my series where I've been analyzing each individual NBA team one by one, looking at their transactions so I can explain how I think the team will perform this upcoming season. The team that we'll look at today is the Miami Heat. The Heat won 44 games and finished 7th in the Eastern Conference. With that, they qualified for the play-in tournament and played against the Atlanta Hawks. They unfortunately lost that game, but they had a second chance. And in that second play-in matchup, they played against the Chicago Bulls. They were down through 3 quarters, but a huge fourth quarter ignited by the Heat was enough to win the game and clinch them the 8th seed in the Eastern Conference playoffs. So in that 8-1 matchup, they played against the Milwaukee Bucks, and everyone expected them to lose. Miami didn't care. They took game 1 in Milwaukee, but the Bucks bounced back resoundingly in game 2, putting a lot of pressure on the Heat. And this is when a lot of people expected the series to turn and Milwaukee to take control. The Heat threw a gut punch and knocked out the Milwaukee Bucks in one of the biggest playoff upsets in recent memory. In the next round, the Heat were matched up against the New York Knicks. The Knicks were not favored against the Heat, but it was expected to be a fairly even series. Miami came out and won game 1, but the Knicks responded and won game 2. But then the Heat would go on and win 3 out of the next 4 games, wrapping up the series in 6 games and going to the Eastern Conference Finals. This was very unexpected, but the Heat were continuing to prove teams wrong. And in the Eastern Conference Finals, they were matched up against the Boston Celtics for the second consecutive season. Boston had come in with a lot of confidence and a lot of hope that they would go back to the NBA Finals for a second straight season. But Miami had different answers. Miami came out and won the first 3 games of the series in just a major shock. It looked like the Celtics were defeated, but Boston came back strong, winning the next 3 games, including unbelievable buzzer beater by Derek White in Game 6. And then in Game 7 in Boston, Miami just demolished the Heat, just embarrassed them on their home court, and showed that they're still the team to beat in the East, and they're the first 8th seed since 1999, when the New York Knicks made the NBA Finals as the 8th seed, and just huge for the Heat. They were matched up against the Denver Nuggets, and they lost Game 1 of the Finals. In Game 2, they came back and won, but unfortunately they would go on to lose the next 3 games behind the strong offensive unit of the Nuggets, fueled by Nikola Jokic as well as Jamal Murray. But the Heat have to be pleasantly surprised, extremely happy with the way their season went, making it back to the finals, the first time they did that since the bubble season, and getting there as an 8th seed is a huge accomplishment. In the NBA draft, the Miami Heat had the 18th overall pick and used that to draft Jaime Jaquez from the University of UCLA. Jaime was a 4-year player and averaged 18 points, 8 rebounds, 1.5 steals on 48% shooting in his senior season. He won't start the year in the rotation, but he projects to be a very good player, and many analysts and scouts think that he was the best value pick in the entire draft. Next, we'll look at some free agents signed by Miami. So they signed Orlando Robinson, Josh Richardson, as well as Thomas Bryant to the veterans minimum. Orlando was sparingly played for Miami last season, where he averaged 4 points and 4 rebounds. I expect him to be the 3rd string center on the Miami Heat. Next, we look at Josh Richardson. He spent time last season with the San Antonio Spurs as well as the New Orleans Pelicans, and he averaged 10 points, 2 rebounds, 3 assists, and 1 steal, while shooting 47% from the field and 37% from 3. He's projected to be a starter, but it's possible that he could also be a role player. He would start if the Miami Heat went with a smaller lineup. Either way, he'll be making an impact to this team. He's a guy that's known to be a very capable defender, but can also shoot the three ball at a very respectable clip. He'll be tasked to play a very key role with Miami this season. Then the Heat signed Thomas Bryant to the veterans minimum as well, and he played with the Denver Nuggets as well as the Los Angeles Lakers. He averaged 10 and 6 while shooting 62% from the field. He had a good season, and I believe he will be the backup center, backing up Bam Adebayo. Next, the Heat re-signed Kevin Love to a 2-year deal for $7.9 million using the biannual exception. Kevin Love first played with the Cavs last season. After he was waived, he was signed with the Heat, and he averaged 8 points and 6 rebounds while shooting 39% from the field and 33% from 3. Kevin is 15 years in the league now, and he is past his best days. He's still a capable shooter. He can stretch the floor. He's also a very good passer. He's been known to deliver some of the best outlet passes in the game. But at this stage in his career, he's a role player and he's a backup, and he'll probably play backup 4. Then Miami was involved in 2 trades, but they were basically outgoing trades. So the first one was trading Victor Oladipo and 2 second-round picks to OKC. This was a pure salary dump with the Miami Heat just trying to reduce the luxury tax bill, with Oladipo owed over $9 million. The Heat decided that it was best to get rid of him and lower their bill. Next, Miami Heat were involved in a sign-and trade for Max Strus. They sent him out to the Cleveland Cavaliers in a 3-team trade, and within that trade, they sent out a 2027 second-round pick to the San Antonio Spurs, and they received a 2026 second-round pick. This is just a wash of picks, but essentially they lost Max Strus, who is a very good shooter, and he showed to be very capable in big moments last year, especially in the playoffs. And then in free agency, the Heat lost Gabe Vincent to the Los Angeles Lakers. It's a huge hit on their depth, as Vincent was a terrific player, and he once again showed that he was very capable, especially in the playoffs. Overall, the Heat did not have a good offseason. They didn't really add anyone at very good quality, and they lost 2 important rotational players. Somehow the Miami Heat always seem to figure it out behind the best head coach in the NBA, Eric Spoelstra, and I do believe they'll figure it out with the lineup of Jimmy Butler, Tyler Hero, Bam Adebayo, Kyle Lowry, as well as Josh Richardson. It's a good enough lineup to make the play-in tournament, and I believe they will, get back into the playoffs. But considering the East has gotten better, or the Bucks have beefed up, the Celtics have beefed up, I don't think a long run is possible this season. If you liked the video, subscribe to the channel. Thank you so much.